Didn't think you guys would be getting a Christmas video from me, did you? Well, of course. I just happened to stumble upon one of the biggest morons in the entire anime industry, and that person being the Anime Man. If you're familiar with the channel, then you already know the deep lore behind me and the Anime Man and why I don't much care for any of his content and why I think he's a big fucking moron. So without much to do, let's just go ahead and delve right into this one.
How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man.
If you're new to the channel, insert here me nitpicking about his stupid opening.
May 27th, 2013. To many of you, that might just seem like a very random date out of nowhere.
It's actually 2 days after my birthday, but let's get into this.
But to me, it marks a very significant moment in my time, and a very significant moment in my career that would later lead me to become that one guy who talks about Japanese cartoons on the internet for a living.
Yeah, in fact, it's so easy that maybe someone like me could do it. Except for not so much money, because only until just recently did I enable monetization on my channel.
That's right, May 27, 2013 was the day that I uploaded my first ever YouTube channel to this Anime Man channel, simply titled Dubbed Anime Sucks.
Interesting note that I was actually planning to do a video about this exact same video, but I didn't because I just kind of ran out of time and I ran out of ideas at the time and I just never got around to producing it. But now we pretty much get to shit on you for 2 videos in one, don't we? The good old Christmas spirit comes around every year.
I know, I must have had like some serious balls of steel to open up my career with such a controversial topic in the anime community. Look, I seriously don't know what the hell I was thinking, okay? Like, 19-year-old Joey was a fucking idiot, to say the least.
Don't worry, I mean, I still think that 24-year-old Joey the Anime Man is still a big fucking idiot. I mean, there's not really too much different from back then than there is now. 5 years doesn't really make a difference when you're still spewing stupid bullshit on the internet.
For those of you who have never seen that first video from me, and I don't blame you if you haven't, I mean, the video is 5.5 years old. It's also a rather shitty video, but that's besides the point. It's basically a 2.5 minute video of me expressing my hate, or rather distaste, towards a particular English dub of an anime, more specifically the English dub of the Samurai Champloo series.
Oh, now Joey, come on. Come on. We already know that you weren't just shitting on that series in particular. You were very irate with a couple of different things, mainly a voice actor, but we'll get into that in a minute, because that takes a little bit of a detour in what we're going to talk about.
And yes, shockingly, the comments to that video are very divided.
Oh, you mean the comments were very intelligent, pointing out all of your mistakes and your flaws, saying that something isn't inherently bad, especially if you're trying to make bold statements about how terrible one show is. And sure, we can play the card that this is just your opinion, but at the time you were just making your own statements, much like I did when I first started, and I still do. But you kind of went out of your way to blatantly say that anybody that watches English dubs are pretty much just not capable of reading, or that they just aren't on the same intellectual level as you because they don't understand Japanese.
Or in layman's terms, the comments are cancerous as fuck. Half the comments actually somewhat agree with some of the points that I made, and the other half of the comments only wish the cruelest of deaths upon me.
Now, I'm not a genius by any stretch of the imagination here, but I mean, I'm not really grasping at straws when I say that these people aren't wishing you any cruel deaths. I know that this is probably your turn of phrase, but they're just pointing out that they just didn't like your video, and that they are going to defend the fact that they think that he's a great voice actor, Steve Bloom, of course, and they know that it makes you sound like an elitist. That's pretty much what the bad comments are, and we know how well you take criticism, so I think that you calling them pretty cancerous is just a little ironic, don't you think?
Wouldn't be an anime community video otherwise, now would it? Now, suffice it to say, I'm not exactly proud of that video, and you can ask any YouTuber if they're proud of their first couple of videos that they ever uploaded. Most of them will probably say, fuck no.
If I were to go back and look at my videos now, I think that they have a little bit more of a calm feel to them, because I'm not as angry. But I do think that my videos at the beginning are maybe a little bit worse in terms of just how great I was now. Just kidding, they're not. They're actually kind of terrible. But no, I stand behind all of my work. unlike somebody who deletes videos.
But there's a different reason as to why I particularly hate this first video of mine. And no, surprisingly, it's not due to the fact that I disagree with the points that I made 5.5 years ago. I mean, my opinions on anime change all the freaking time, as you have probably seen in past videos, but concerning my opinions on the Samurai Champloo English dub, to this day, I'm still not a massive fan of it. No, my one regret, should I call it that, about this particular video is that I don't really explain why exactly I hate the Samurai Champloo dub.
That seems like a bit of a stretch, because I've watched that video and I had to watch it again for this video, but you do explain why, but we'll get into that as soon as you state more stupid reasons.
To be fair, it is only 2.5 minutes long, and it was completely off the top of my head, completely off the top of the dome. So as a think piece or a rant from your boy, it doesn't necessarily have the sufficient amount of quality to it. That video was completely driven by my emotions at the time, and is really a prime example of why I started writing scripts for my videos such as these, and thank God for that.
Your content has shifted into more of a vlog type of deal, so if you do write scripts, they're probably not that great anyways, because everything that you do is all reaction based and clickbait.
And so because it has been over 5 years since I made that video and I haven't really explained it in a video since then, I thought today to kind of wrap up all of my regrets about that video and finally let it go into the open air, I would try and revisit this topic in a video. Because this particular topic is still being asked by my audience to this day through my Twitch chats or through my YouTube comments or even when I do panels at conventions. It's always a question that I get asked. Why exactly do I dislike English dubbed anime?
Okay, so I haven't seen this video in advance while I'm editing it, so I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say it's because that you actually speak Japanese, and going based off of your original video, is because you think that American voice actors, particularly the one that did the voice of Mugen in your original video, you made the point that he sounded like shit, so there's also that. And also the fact that maybe it's because you're one of those corporate shills, because whenever you talk about an anime that you're going to watch in any particular season, you make sure that you tell us that you're going to watch it as soon as it comes out. And most of those shows, when they do first come out, they don't have simuldubs and they just are released on Crunchyroll, and that's generally where you get most of your viewing experience from. But I'll digress and let you get into the rest of this video, so that way we can truly find out in the mind of the anime man what exactly it is he hates about English dubbed anime.
Well, hopefully in today's video I'll be able to give you guys a little bit more of a sufficient reasoning towards this particular question. Now let me start off this opinion piece by saying one particular thing just very loudly and clearly so everybody is on the same boat before we go any further, okay? I do not hate all English anime dubs.
Thank goodness we cleared away that generalization. Maybe now we can get into the real meat and potatoes, since apparently we're not talking about all of them, just that one in particular, or maybe a select few.
While I say that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the dub of Samurai Champloo, there are a number of English dubbed anime that I actually really like Cowboy Bebop.
Whoa there. Alright, so this is the point that I wanted to get to. So, if you don't think that Steve Blum is a good voice actor, why do you think that the voice acting in Cowboy Bebop is any good if he's the same voice actor that's in Samurai Champloo? Let's go ahead and run that so you guys can get a real feel for what I'm saying, and that way you can't say that I'm just making shit up.
I'm going to say this loud and clear. The one thing that I really hate about dubbed anime is the voices. The American voice actors are just so... crap. The Japanese voice actors actually sound like they're acting. The American voice actors sound like they were picked up off the f***ing street.
Are you guys getting any of this? Wait, maybe I just need to skip a little bit ahead. I'm not gonna actually skip the video. I'm just gonna let it play out a little bit, so that way you can hear this last little nugget of information.
The producers of the anime came up to them and went, "Hey, do you like voice acting? Yeah. Hey, can you voice this anime character for us? You know, it'd be really cool." Okay. You know, it's simple as that. No training whatsoever, because that's what they f***ing sound like. Anyway, back to the story. So Samurai Champloo starts up, and then Mugen starts to talk, and it's this terrible American voice actor that has absolutely no talent whatsoever.
The The voice actor has no talent whatsoever. You mean the same voice actor that's in Cowboy Bebop, a show that you would later say is one of your favorite voiced over anime in English. Very interesting, Joey. Very interesting.
Fully Cooley, Panty and Stocking, etc. I mean, in the case with series like Panty and Stocking, I actually prefer the English dub over the original Japanese voices. So let me just make it loud and clear that I'm not some kind of purist weeb who will only ever watch his animus if it's not said in the holiest of Nihongos.
Let me see what happened in the original video.
In fact, if you're watching anime, why the hell are you watching it dubbed? If you want the original content, watch it subbed. You know, it's just so much better.
Well, his story checks out. I'm just a big dummy. Well, let's keep on moving.
And I think it's because of that reasoning that I started to question it myself. Like, why do I not like English dubbed anime like 99% of the time? There has to be a reason. It can't just be a matter of preference, right? There has to be some kind of logical reasoning somewhere in here that is making me go ew towards most English dubbed anime.
I'd say we pretty much uncovered a lot, but let's keep on going down this because I think that there needs to be a little bit more of an evidence poll from me. I think we need to have some more numbers injected into this.
And well, I sat down, I thought about it, I analyzed the situation, and I think I came up with one solid reasoning that will probably wrap up all of my opinions on English dubbed anime. Cultural significance.
Oh boy, this is actually worse than I thought.
You see, anime is made in Japan by Japanese people. Shocking, I know. Which means that characters, settings, plot lines, and cultural references made within these anime things is mostly on the Japanese plane of existence. What that means is that there are many things that you will see in anime and hear in anime that will inevitably be lost in translation.
In fear of sounding like an idiot and prematurely stating my opinion, I'm going to be taking a different route, and I'm going to let this one play out a little bit more before I start, sounding like a fucking moron.
Let's use the aforementioned Samurai Champloo series as an example. If you've never seen the show, Samurai Champloo is set in feudal Japan, or around the Edo period to be specific, and deals mostly with Japanese-oriented characters, words, and timely cultural references. In the context of the show and the time period that it's set in, this means that there are many words and ideas that only exist within a Japanese standard, a lot of which is also very difficult to translate accurately. I mean, it's simple enough to translate things like ninjas and samurais and stuff like that, but the more subtle details that only the weebiest of weeby Japanese cultural experts could probably understand is also hidden and sprinkled within the series.
Look, I really hate that I'm about to do this, but look fam, it's not that deep. So I'm sure that you're aware, Joey, of what localization is and how that's used in anime. For example, localization, as per Wikipedia, if you want to call that reliable, is an essential process in releasing anime outside of Japan. It can cover a range of different processes depending on the individual title and the desired result. At the most basic level, the localization process is responsible for deciding on Romanized character and term names, as well as episode titles. That's why certain series, especially ones like Pokemon, when it first came out, they had just the regular names from Japan, but they had to be localized for an American audience, because some of the names just didn't translate over well, and some of the Pokemon's names were changed. And let's just be real. If people actually cared about that kind of thing, Pokemon wouldn't be as successful as it is right now, selling millions of games worldwide and becoming an international sensation. But that's just one example, especially when you consider shows like Ghost Stories. They exist, and they never even change the titles of those episodes, but instead they change the context of everything else. In other shows like Azumanga, one of my favorite shows, they never changed any of their names. But they did try to change the jokes up a little bit because some of that context would just go over our heads. It is made for a Japanese audience, and sure, any idiot could run two brain cells together and get that idea, but it's the fact that when you're localizing something for an American audience and you want it voiced over in English, sometimes sacrifices have to be made. And it's not very good sacrifices. That's why we as consumers have all of the power to make these choices ourselves.
And yes, while there are ways to translate that into English or translate that into any kind of dub, not 100% of it is pushed through. Some of it is fallen behind. Some of the spark and the magic is not quite pushable over towards an English dub or any kind of dub for that matter. And I mean, look, as much as I fucking love Steve Blum as a voice actor, I mean, oh my god. Until I listened to Steve Blum, I didn't know it was possible to feel pregnant just by listening to a voice.
Now, Joey, I know that you're a big fucking moron, but you can't honestly say that you went back and watched your video from 5 years ago to make this video to talk about it, and then say that you've changed your mind and think that it's the best thing you've ever heard? Here, let me just play that clip for you one more time.
So Samurai Champloo starts up, and then Mugen starts to talk, and it's this terrible American voice actor that has absolutely no talent whatsoever.
God, you're such a fucking hypocrite.
The fact that he and many other English voice actors are speaking English in a very, very traditional Japanese setting just sounds a little bit off to me.
Considering that this takes place in a historical time in Japanese history, but also that this is a work of fiction where beatboxing and things like that exist, I mean, you kind of are stretching for this one.
So much so that it's actually distracting me from the overall immersion and enjoyment of the show. And I know that might sound really fucking nitpicky, but that's also one of the reasons why I didn't really enjoy the last Samurai movie as much as some of my friends did. But I think that kind of nitpickiness also explains the reason why I actually enjoyed the Cowboy Bebop dub. Although both main characters are voiced by Steve Blum, Cowboy Bebop isn't bound to any one cultural standard in its sci-fi setting, you know, because it's set in space.
It seems like you're always a day late and $1 short with your information again, Joey. So allow me to help you out here, and I'm sorry if this comes off as a little bit too much of an information dump and somewhat of a spoiler alert, I guess, but this is a little bit of information about Samurai Champloo, directly from all the places that I found them, and of course, there might be links, there's a lot of them here, but Samurai Champloo was first broadcast in Japan back in 2004, and it ran for 26 episodes all the way until 2005. But the interesting bit is that it takes place in an alternate version of the Edo era, which ranged from the year 1603 to 1868. Now you'll notice the last part with the predominantly hip-hop setting, but let's just put that aside for a second and just focus on a little bit more of the facts, and let's see if we can try to knuckle down a little bit more about this setting that's apparently so sacred that it just can't be disturbed. So for starters, Samurai Champloo doesn't follow any chronological order, and I'll tell you why. See, episodes 19 and episodes 24 of Samurai Champloo have to take place in between December 17th, 1637 and April 15th, 1638, because that's when the Shimabara Rebellion was taking place, which was an uprising from what is now Nagasaki Prefecture in southwestern Japan. So with that being said, it was still in the Edo period, but those are 2 episodes, and that's where one of the episodes is a 3-parter, and it actually ends the entire series. So it can't possibly be any time after that, but this is also why that's completely irrelevant and why this shatters your entire argument. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more interesting and intricate. You see, they take a lot of influence because this is an alternate setting, so him not speaking Japanese or sounding off may be a little bit different, but one of my favorite episodes, episode 18 of Samurai Champloo, War of the Words, features a pompadour hairstyle which wasn't introduced until the 1700s, 1721, and it was also when modern graffiti, which is what the theme of the episode is, wasn't introduced, or at least considered widely to be known as graffiti, until 1967. Now, there are plenty of examples, but in the consideration of time, I'm just going to leave this image here, because apparently this show is just too historically accurate for you to take anything that has an English voice in it seriously.
And so the different languages aren't that much of a distraction to the overall setting of the series. But in describing the cultural significance of English dub versus the original Japanese voice actors, it can also be boiled down to a much smaller and more narrow setting. I'm sure as an anime watcher you guys would know that there are many character archetypes that are very uniquely anime. A lot of which you very rarely find in other Western productions. I mean, think about it. How many times have you sat down and watched a Western TV show or a Western movie in cinemas and thought to yourself, hey look, he or she is a tsundere, or he or she is a yandere. And I know there might be some of you who are saying, well, technically yes, I have experienced that. Why didn't you do more research, you fucking pleb?
And you would be correct in this assumption, you fucking pleb. Archetypes of characters aren't specifically just meant for Japanese anime productions. They can be in any type of medium. They can be in video games. They could be in, like you said, any Western TV show or cinema. There's not anything that specifically says that you can't have these types of tropes or these types of character archetypes in anything else besides anime.
No matter how close those certain characters may be to those anime and Japanese archetypes, you very rarely call them by the actual terms that describe those archetypes.
Wow, it's a good thing that we have descriptors to help us out with those. Oh wait, those don't exist for you.
I mean, nobody watches the fucking Alien movies and says, oh, Ripley is a tsundere. And sometimes it doesn't even have to fit into one specific character archetype either. For example, the main heroine in Hentai Oji to Warawanai Neko is a character named Tsukiko, who in the story is known for her very deadpanned, emotionless voice and stature, while somehow still showing signs of those kawaii emotions that just steals everyone's hearts right away.
Wow, a character with actual character emotions and feelings and traits? I didn't know that those existed in anime. Please tell me more, the Animu Man.
Now, at the timing of the recording of this video, there is no known official English dub to that series. And if you ask me, I don't think there will ever be an official English dub of that series. And no, not because the series is unpopular or there isn't enough people who are going to enjoy it. I genuinely think just based on the character archetypes, the very uniquely anime and uniquely Japanese character archetypes of characters like Tsukiko, I don't think there is a single English dubbed voice actress who will be able to portray Tsukiko's character and fully be able to translate it and portray it in an English setting.
Calm down there, the elitist man. Let's slow down for a second and just re-roll exactly what you just said, where you were talking about how it's just not possible that anybody here in America could ever just do her voice properly because there's too many different archetypes, I guess? That makes no sense. Maybe it's just due to licensing. Maybe it's because you just don't know what you're talking about. Or maybe you're just trying to make this one example stand out because you're just trying to pronounce the name in a very Japanese way, so that way you come off as condescending. Whatever the case may be, I'm not here to assume. I apparently get yelled at for doing that, so I'm going to refrain from doing so. But continue with your ramblings.
Tsukiko and many of the characters in shows like Hentai Oji to Warawanai Neko and other series are based around this whole concept of moe, and if you want to know further details, then I've done a full video on explaining the whole concept of moe. Links in the description if you're interested. Because even if they do decide to dub the show, I don't think there is a single English voice actress who will be able to portray the character of Tsukiko as well as Ogura Yui, the original Japanese voice for Tsukiko, did just so absolutely effortlessly.
I get it. It's the Japanese master race to you, because they can apparently just do no wrong. You know, some other people that casually watch anime know that not every single Japanese-made production sounds that great. I mean, I'm not going to list them here for very generous reasons, generally because people don't like the things that I cite, but I think you kind of get what I'm hinting at.
But I mean, hey, I'm not some kind of soothsayer or future seeker or anything. Like, if there is an English dub voice actress perhaps watching this video that can prove me wrong otherwise, then I would welcome it with open arms. I would love to see that shit in reality.
Yeah, so that way we can get another video of you saying how shit they sound and how disappointed you are with the lackluster production quality of the voice actors. I get it. You really just want this to happen.
Mind you, this whole logic that I have kind of building up throughout this video doesn't just apply to English dubbed anime, because the exact same points can be made for Japanese dubbed cartoons, or rather anything dubbed into any other language other than its original. I mean, we all meme the fuck out of movies like Shrek and B-Movie and Moana and stuff like that, but there is no stronger and more hilarious meme than the Japanese dub of those movies. Like, I'm serious. Like, after you finish watching this video, go to YouTube and look up any Japanese dub of any DreamWorks or Pixar movie, any Disney movie, any American TV shows.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
They all just sound so... That sheer discomfort that you'll probably hear from any of the clips that you find is basically what I feel when listening to 99% of English dubbed anime.
Oh, well, I'm sorry that you feel traumatized by, hang on, what's this here? Words? Yeah, words. Okay, I'm just making sure I get that properly.
Because again, a lot of these movies are so culturally bound in the country and language that they were originally created in that when you try and dub it into a completely different language with completely different cultural values, like say English to Japanese or vice versa, there is just so many things, so many jokes, so many funny things, so many plot points that are just completely lost in translation, and it will just completely take you out of the immersion of the experience.
It seems like a lot of your script says the word many a lot and also lost in translation. If those are the only things that you have to rely on, and I've already pointed out how that kind of doesn't mean anything, I think you've kind of lost this argument. Get some better problems.
I mean, to give you another example, I love watching The Simpsons. I've always enjoyed watching The Simpsons ever since I was a little kid, and I think that The Simpsons to this day, depending on the seasons of course, have some of the funniest jokes, some of the most witty and clever humor that I've ever seen in any kind of cartoon TV show.
I mean, the later seasons are really shit. They kind of started being a little too self-aware, and it started being weird and creepy, and it was just kind of not funny, but go off, I guess.
And when I found out that there was a Japanese dub of The Simpsons, I was really interested. I was like, okay, let me see if these Japanese dub, voice actors and actresses can properly portray the Simpsons characters. And when I watched one episode of the Japanese dub of a Simpsons episode, I was like, wow, I've never seen a show become so immediately not funny. Because there are so many jokes within The Simpsons that just do not translate into Japanese. It wasn't even a matter of whether the Japanese voice actors and actresses were portraying the characters correctly. I mean, a lot of the times they were. It's just the script being translated from English to Japanese just does not work, and so much of the charm was just completely lost in translation.
Oh, there it is again. You kept saying how it is lost in translation. I mean, it is a fact that The Simpsons is made for an American audience first, the same way that anime is, like you said earlier. So why would you think that anything that represents an American family in some facets, I guess, would somehow translate or be funny to a Japanese audience when they have to take the script and then they have to make it relatable to a Japanese audience? Not everyone knows about the things that happen over here in America, and they most certainly don't know about all of our biggest stars, especially if you were to say, oh, well, here's Ludacris in this episode with Bart Simpson. They wouldn't know what the hell's going on. They're just like, who's this random black guy in this Simpsons episode? They don't know these types of things because they just aren't in their society over there. I mean, sure, they could probably do a quick Google search and they could find out, but then it would just be like us watching an anime and having to search for someone that's famous over there. We wouldn't know anything about that person until we went and researched it ourselves. So this kind of doesn't make any sense still. Are you getting at something here, Joey? Or am I just gonna, continue to look like an idiot because that's what people say?
And look, I honestly want to avoid sounding like a narcissistic sub-purist when I say all of this shit, but I just genuinely love listening and watching a TV show or a movie in its mother tongue, regardless of what the mother tongue is.
And that's your personal preference. That's what people have, is a personal preference, and you cannot argue with someone's personal preference. You, however, are giving out misinformation because you're an idiot.
Like, when I was growing up in Australia, and you Australians watching this will know what I'm talking about, there is a free-to-watch channel on TV called SBS, where late at night they would play all of these international movies. And when I say international, I mean international. I mean all over the fucking world. I saw some, French art house films, I saw some Italian soap operas, I saw a bunch of Bollywood movies. Like, there was more variety on this channel late at night than any amount of Baskin-Robbins on crack. But the most amazing thing about these international movies on SBS is that all of them were subtitled. None of them were dubbed.
Hey, Joey,
I just happened to stumble upon this one channel. In Australia, we call it SBS, or Channel 3, if you prefer. And that channel is known for, having all sorts of international shows and whatnot. And you won't believe this. It was about 9 o'clock at night. Guess what was on? Have a guess. Have a guess. Have a guess. Fucking Samurai Champloo. What? There's anime on Australian TV? Like, what?
that's not so much of a good look. How can everything be subtitled and in their mother tongue if you watch Samurai Champloo in English and that's not the mother tongue? So did you make up this story so that way you could make that video, or did you make up this story so you could tell this video in a different way?
And because of that, I got to watch all of these really international movies and TV series in their mother tongue. I got to listen to the Italian soap operas in Italian. I got to watch the Bollywood movies in the different Indian dialects. I got to watch all of these French art house films in these really pretentious sounding French people's accents. I love you French people, I'm just kidding, please don't hurt.
But apparently not the anime made by Japanese people in a Japanese language. Because, of course, those come on in English on SBS, don't they?
And you know what? Because of that, I feel like I got the maximum amount of enjoyment out of all of these movies and TV series. And look, I get it that some people saying like, oh, I can't be bothered to read subtitles because I can't read the subtitles and watch the show at the same time. There's too much brain processing power. Oh no. Yeah, I know for some people it's fucking difficult to multitask, but trust me when I say this, like, just stick to sub and you will honestly get the maximum enjoyment out of anything you watch.
That's right, kids. If you don't want to watch subs, your brain power is just not strong enough to multitask. You just can't do all those things at once. You can't just, read those simple lines and then just look at the things happening above you. I mean, what's the good? I mean, just pick up a fucking book, you retards.
Let it be known, ladies and gentlemen, that I am not necessarily a hater of English dubbed anime. I am a hater of anything dubbed anything. Italian dubbed Japanese? Fuck that shit. English dubbed German? Fuck that shit. It might be difficult to keep up with subtitles, it might be difficult to read on the screen, but trust me that you will get the best fucking experience, and you get to learn a different language that you otherwise probably will never hear.
Hey Joey, here's something to, to feast your brain upon. Some people rely on some of those subtitles because that's the only thing that comes to their country, or sometimes they just enjoy hearing their own native language being spoken with the thing that they enjoy the most. It's all really personal preference, and if someone doesn't get the maximum amount of something, then I'm sure that they are aware of that. I'm sure that they know that the source material from Japan will directly be the only thing that they will ever know as being the end-all be-all. But for some people, they just like to enjoy things in English. I, for one, enjoy Azumanga Daioh in English dub, but, it works as a Japanese dub too. Because you know what? I don't care. I'm not an anime elitist.
It's a lot of hard work, but I feel the hard work pays off. That's basically the real reason as to why I dislike a lot of English dubbed anime, or rather, a lot of anything dubbed anything. I'm just glad that after 5.5 years and a lot of dislikes on that video that I'm finally able to properly explain my reasonings as to why I feel this way. But of course, everybody's perspectives are different. I know a lot of my friends who only watch dubbed anime in English, and I know a lot of people who can kind of go on and off with their choosing. This is a very personal thing, and this is just my personal opinions and explanations on why I particularly have this way of thinking about dubs and subs and stuff like that. But of course, everyone's way of thinking is different, and I would love to know what you guys think.
Oh no, Joey, you really don't want to know what I think. Honestly, I think you're the most pretentious, idiotic person I think I've ever encountered on this entire website next to Mother's Basement. In fact, I think that I probably had more fun, trying to look at people play Atlas, and that game is a train wreck. I think I've probably had more fun trying to play Fallout 76, and that game is broken from the ground up, and they had the worst PR statements in the entire universe. But those seem like a joyride compared to some of the videos and the things that you express in them. And I get that these are your opinions, but you kind of said these things as though they were fact. And sure, I can hear some of the people, some of my detractors, and some people that just don't generally like me or my videos saying, well, you missed the point completely of what Joey was saying, or you're just a fucking idiot, or shut up, retard. Well, I can agree on all of those things, because I probably did. And, for what it is, I think that I've covered most of what I have with factual information, because if we're going to go based on something that he can't present, then sure, I can present some facts, and at least that's a little bit more than what he's doing. But all in all, this isn't me trying to weasel my way out of some dislikes, because I'm going to get those regardless. But let's just ever, for the love of God, just never do this ever again with English subs and dubs and whatever the hell he wants to talk about. If you have a personal preference, just stick with it. People enjoy what they enjoy. And all of our tastes are shit, except for the Anime Man. His are always going to be bad. It's just, elitism is a thing, but we'll discuss that at a later date if you catch my drift. But I'm going to go back to being a shithead on Twitter, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, or Kwanzaa, or Hanukkah, or whatever holiday you may celebrate at this holiday season. And I'll be back with some more wonderful gifts, just for all the delicious comments that you guys are going to leave for me. So, have fun!